right, thank you. This is the September 8th, 2020 meeting of the Board of Library Trustees. And this open meeting of the Board of Library Trustees is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's orders suspend the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Board of Library Trustees are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Board of Library Trustees to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access excuse me, does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. And for this purpose, could you state your name and just say present? Mitch Cohen.
Mitch Cohen, present.
Jim Hogan.
Jim Hogan, present.
Hamilton Soriano. Absent. Nita Karanchkar has already informed me that she will not be in attendance. Jocelyn McElhaney.
Jocelyn McElhaney, present.
McElhaney, I'm still saying it wrong, sorry. Charles Recchia.
Charles Recchia, present.
Joan Scott.
Joan Scott, present.
Richard Tucker.
Richard Tucker, present.
And Michelle Rehill is present. That would be me. All right, so this meeting, I don't know if I said it correctly in the correct order, but this meeting is officially called to order. And I thank you all for making the effort to be here tonight. That's all I have for opening remarks. Although I will give a shout out to the library staff as usual, going above and beyond, but we'll maybe talk a little more when it gets time for the acting library director's report. That being said, I would appreciate a motion to approve the minutes of the July 15th, 2020 meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
All right. And again, roll call vote. Mitch Cohen.
Cohen,
I would say all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented. Sorry. All right.
Aye.
All right. Jim Hogan.
Aye.
I have to do this. Yes. Jocelyn.
Aye.
Charles.
Aye.
Joan.
Aye.
Richard.
Aye.
And Michelle Rehill also says aye. Motion carries unanimously to accept the minutes. All right. And thank you, Jim. Lovely job. We will now deal with the FY 2021 appropriations report. Are there any questions or comments from anyone regarding the appropriations?
I had a question, Michelle.
Yes.
I noticed that the contractual is at 40%, which is high based on the number of months thus far in the year. I assume we've prepaid, or there's a large item that's paid at the beginning of the fiscal year. I'm just curious to verify that.
I can answer that, but Deb, would you like to handle it?
Sure. It's the second part. It's a contractual agreement that we have with our CWMR's membership that we pay annually. Half of it comes from our state aid grant, and then the other half of it comes from that contractual. So that's what that is. That's paid
By
every,
prepaying, we get a little bit of a discount, right?
no, it's due every September. And
Oh.
so it's just, that's, you know, that's how it's been set up, that half of it is paid out of the state aid line item and the other half is paid out of the contractual.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's any discounts involved.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, to my knowledge, like all these years, I believe it's a one-time annual fee. So, okay. Any other questions? If there are none, we're gonna be done really early. Acting Library Director's report.
Well, I'm not going to read it to you because you all can read. So
you.
I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions about what they have read, and hopefully you've had a chance to read it. So I don't know if anybody wants to discuss anything. And then I have some questions for you, but I don't know point of order when they come in.
Okay. Well, I will just, I appreciate your report. I think you know, it made me happy to see the new hours are on there, talking about, you know, working on browsing in different ways to allow people to browse. I was going to do summer reading as an adult, but I was afraid I'd win a prize and I would feel guilty. Oh, I am absolutely going to raise the flag of, for those of you who did not go to the library and don't read ebooks, I'm looking at you, Jim Hogan. If you bought a lot of books these last few months and you've read them, on September 11th, this Friday, from 9 to 11 a.m., the Friends of the Library will be accepting donations for their socially distant book sale, Friends book sale that will happen on the 26th. So Friday morning, September 11th, from 9 to 11, if you have books that you would like to donate to the Friends so that they can sell them, you can bring them in a small box to the back, to the library door. I'm making a plug for the Friends. I can't believe it.
Deb, do you want a typo?
Do I want a typo?
You want to hear about a typo?
If you would like to tell me about a typo, I apologize.
I think I pick out a typo every meeting. Summer reading program, second line, it's Cartina.
Oh, Cartina, yes. I did.
Oh, instead of Katrina?
Katrina.
That's a new
That's what I call her. That's my affection.
Pet name.
Oh, so it's not.
No, it is a typo. Thank you. I'll correct it for the official.
I thought it still sounded like a real name, so I was gonna let it go because it amused me.
I thought it was the ski resort in Italy.
Oh, it does kind of sound like that.
So,
Guys, I'm
so
sorry,
Deb,
pardon the interruption, David Kane here. We have someone entering in the waiting room.
Hamilton?
It might be, I'm not sure. The name on the entrant is iPhone. So
Probably Hamilton.
if you approve, I'll be glad to admit Mr. or Mrs. iPhone and see if it's who you're expecting.
And if it's not, we'll
just boot them on out. So here we go.
okay.
Oh, it's Kate.
Oh, it's Kate.
Kate's welcome, right?
Hi, Kate.
Kate, she's a staff member. She can be there. Kate, you came in as iPhone.
Oh, you're
And
muted.
you're muted.
I couldn't
Thin.
get in through YouTube. I couldn't get in through YouTube.
Oh,
So that's why I came on here, but sorry to interrupt.
okay. Nope, not a problem. Probably a good time to pop in. We're doing the library director's report. I was making the plug for people to bring all of those books that they purchased while they were in quarantine for the Friends book sale. And
I actually did have a question on the acting director's report.
Yes.
In the last paragraph, you mentioned in terms of getting the library ready for phase 3,
Yes.
the plexiglass shields for the service desks. Are those Where are those coming from? Where are those?
It's kind of a weird process. For me, it's weird. There is a reopening committee that Chris was on from its inception, and then I kind of got folded into. So I don't know the prior work that was done before or all the details of it, but as I understand it, there is monies in this fund managed by the reopening committee that all town departments have access to repurpose their facility, their offices, or in our case, the library, and in the senior center's case, the senior center, to be compliant for all those COVID procedures. So libraries were granted the ability to open to the public in phase 3, I mean, way back at the end of May. And it's taken many libraries to prepare their buildings to do so. And we have started the process as well. So Mitch, correct me if I'm wrong with the timeline, but Mitch and I from the beginning actually came into the library, photographed the desk, sent it off to the committee for the chair to approve the purchase. And we came up with, this happened just as Chris was leaving, so it was the end of June. We came up with a set number of plexiglass shields that we needed to make our service desks appropriately safe as the way we saw fit. The chair asked us to look at our solution and see if we can come up with something different. And I know Mitch and Kristen spent a lot of time working on that. I happen to have been on vacation, so I wasn't in the middle of that discussion. But after further talking about it, we've come back to, well, we sent you what we feel is the safe way and to meet all those COVID requirements. So this is what we need. And Mitch and I left it in your hands, Mitch, to try to negotiate to say, this is what we want to purchase. But we wanted to have the discussion too as a board to see if anybody else had any input. Did I summarize that right, Mitch? I mean,
Yeah, no, that's good. So from a funding perspective, the federal government has made a lot of money available to municipalities for various things, including PPE and other things like that. So the town of Northborough has centralized that mostly under Scott of the DPW, Scott Charpentier, is leading that effort. Myself and Chris met with him months ago. And then he and I had some correspondence after we put in our request for how many pieces of plexiglass we wanted. He had some alternate suggestions. So I worked with Kristen and Deb on sort of understanding what I interpreted his suggestions to be. And it's sounding like Deb, and I fully support her, wants to go back to the initial request. So I will, if it's okay with Deb, you and Michelle on the board, I'll go ahead and relay that to Scott and say, we'd like the plexiglass shields. I mean, in short, he was suggesting fewer plexiglass shields and some, I forget what they're called, the rope things that go between the posts.
Stanchion, yeah.
Stanchions, yeah, I always forget that word. And this we're looking at protecting not just the main circulation desk, but all of the desks throughout the building that have public access and staff behind them. So I will relay that again and see what kind of response we get. And then they would do the purchasing, so it would not be out of our library budget. They would take care of the purchasing and the funding and the reimbursements and all of that stuff. So that makes it much easier for us than if we, through our budget, were doing the purchase and then submitting for reimbursement from the federal
So it's an
government.
independent pool. Yeah.
Yeah, good way to look at it.
So, and that's just part of what we need to go through in terms of reopening. And I really, it's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you folks about in terms of how we as a staff should be working on that at this point. Because that's just one piece of the whole reopening puzzle. So I guess I need some input and direction from you folks about a timeline and what you think we should be thinking about. And also knowing that, you know, this is ultimately something that falls in the lap of our town administrator, because it's up to the town to decide when our public buildings are going to be open. So I'm just not sure how we should be proceeding at this point in time for the whole plan.
I happen to have observed a Board of Selectmen meeting maybe a month, 3 or 4 weeks ago, where someone called in and asked when the library would reopen. And the administrator's response to that was, I don't want to artificially quote him, but it was along the lines of, we're searching for a new permanent director of the library. And I think he was more comfortable waiting for a director to be on board. Is the way I interpreted those comments. So I think before we, as part of making decisions to reopen, we certainly want to keep him in the loop, because he is overseeing this from a town's perspective, and certainly Scott from the DPW is overseeing a substantial level of detail on that.
And I would wholeheartedly agree with that. But at the same point, I think we as a staff need to be making some preparations. So what I'm really asking for is, what do you think we should be working on? For example, yes.
You can give us the for example. I had a thought, but I know you have been doing a lot of work on this. So go for it. Tell us for example.
Well, for example, we have foot soldiers in the field going out and looking at libraries that already have opened. Kimberly wrote a wonderful email to me, and I asked her if I could share it with you folks. So if you want it, I will send it to you, of what Westboro is doing. And that's just one model. Like I said in my report, there's a bunch of different models. So some of the things we could be working on is deciding what we want to do for a model. That's just one step of, getting the PPE in place, such as the plexiglass shields, is one step. Another step is us working together as a staff, deciding, what model we want to go on. And then there's also, repurposing the building itself. There's a lot of work, I think, that needs to be done in the lobby. And some of these things are dependent on others. For example, if we're doing appointment, we might repurpose the library in a different way than if we were doing counting people coming through. So I guess my ultimate question is, what steps or what decisions do you want us as a staff to make right now, so that when the permanent director comes on board, we say, well, this is what we've got planned so far. So they'll have a starting point, a stepping stone.
I'm going to toss out there, if you have, if Kimberly has gone out and done some legwork for you, some observations from the field, that would be good to know. I know you put a few things in here, like some of them have just the lobby is open. Some places are doing like letting people browse and self-checkout.
Right.
But I know that we don't have the, I don't believe we have the equipment that we need for the patrons to do self-checkout.
Actually, we do have that.
You have it?
We have the equipment, we just don't have it installed yet. But I mean, that's part of, like, are we gonna have to rip out one of those big Mayan books?
The Mayan temples?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, those things aren't nailed in place, right? They're supposed to be, everything's supposed to be movable. This is Jocelyn, when you see me walk by, these are the things that go through my mind. I had to think, it's like, maybe we could move the Mayan temples and make that side of the room, like when you walk into the library, into the lobby, that towards the left. If we move those out, or, substantially move them back, you could make one of the doors the entry door and have that side be the return your material here. Then you can go, maybe if there's room, browse new stuff here, and then people could go on either up to the stairs or into the children's room. And then you'd have that like a divider, so that when people come back, they have to go on the other side to go to the circulation desk to check material out. So that helps, I think, a little bit, even though people are coming in and out through the same doors. It's like you can only go, one side says, enter here, the other one says do not enter. And then just as a way to, because I know we talked about the lobby being a real bottleneck. and having problems. So I was just kind of tossing it out there that if, as you walk in, if the inside book return is, you go to the left, you return your material there, you can maybe browse new material there or go wherever else you're going in the building. And then the staff, the circulation staff can, or whoever is dealing with this, can go over and get the return material and move it into the place where it's quarantined, so that it kind of reduces the amount of traffic, or at least kind of splits it. So, because we had talked that, I know that it's come up a number of times, it's how do we keep people, because we said, well, they come in over here, they want to go over and return their material over here, then they go over there to look at new books, and then they go over here to check their material out. So if we could figure out a way of doing it so that it works sort of that way, there could
Sort of like a one flow through the library, no backsies.
yeah, or swing around, or
Right.
yeah. However, just like I said, it was just a
So-
thought that I had that might just like one, and I know that's only one small piece of a very big puzzle.
Right. So what you would like us to do is work on an overall plan of how we want this to happen. Decide, do we want to be open by appointment? Do we want to be like some libraries are doing, or do we want to be open for set hours and say you can only be here for 20 minutes? So maybe we should just come back to you with, this is the plan that the staff is most comfortable with. Does that make sense? Like incorporating what you said?
I think so. It might also be like a multi-part thing that, initially, again, needing direction from town administration at the town level. When will buildings be open again? Think about ways of phasing in returning our patrons to the library, and
Okay.
what things we can do, and what things seem doable, manageable, so that when we can open, we can start. It's not just, okay, everybody come in, unless something miraculous happens and we can do that. But think about things that we can do to phase it in, in ways that make sense.
Yes, that does
All right.
make sense.
I've hogged the conversation. If anybody else has anything they want to say, please.
I have one other question related to the acting director's report, unrelated to what we just discussed. I'll wait until anyone else has anything else related to what we did discuss, if you like.
All right. Does anybody have anything? Bonnie, do you want to weigh in on what you would like to have happen up in terms of service and, being up on the second floor? It makes it very different than, like children's services can work one way, but when you're dealing with young adults, or you're dealing with, the adult services in the computer rooms. Do you have?
So for the teen room, I'm very fortunate to have 2 doorways. So I've kind of mocked it up right now it's been up for a few weeks to test it out with the staff, where only one way in and one way out. I have signs on the doors, I have arrows on the floor. And then I also, at the teen services desk, I moved the computer towards more of the middle of the desk. Normally it's all the way down by the adult DVDs. And when I would work out there prior to COVID, I would have adults right on top of me, looking at the DVDs, asking for help. So I moved the computer down to kind of space it out. And I have a line so that no one comes behind the desk. I have signs up, that kind of stuff. My biggest concern with the teen room, which might not be an issue depending on what model we follow, is the teens congregating in the teen room. It depends on if we're going to have computers on for use. I have 4 computers in the teen room. To space it out, we'd only be able to have 2 actually on and in use. Otherwise, they're on top of each other. Furniture right now has been kind of clustered together just as a temporary mock-up so that kids can't sit down. But the actual room capacity, the limit, is 17 in the teen room. So if we're going to have to reduce it to whatever the governor is saying the limit is at the time when we do reopen, we'll have to put up signage, and I'll probably pretty actively have to monitor that room and possibly make it a grab and go, no hanging out, especially where the schools are doing hybrid models. Some kids are doing standalone remote learning. We're going to have a lot of kids not in school whose parents might not be home. So they're out doing who knows what. They could be at the library trying to come and study once we're open, depending on what we're allowing. So we're going to have to keep an eye on the teen room a lot. So I'm not sure exactly how we're going to handle that, but it'll depend on how we reopen.
Okay. Does anybody else have questions or input?
I guess I would say that I think what Deb is asking is if she would like us to authorize her to go forward, she and the staff, who are the people who know best about the circumstances on the ground. And I would say we ought to say to her, yes, proceed forward, make plans as best you can, getting the best advice you can from the state library, and working closely with the town so that we reopen probably, as Michelle was saying, in a gradual way. But I definitely think we ought to be working toward a plan for a systematic reopening.
Good summary, Jim.
Yeah, I agree completely with Jim. I would love to see us reopen and everything be normal. That's the eventual goal, but we can't do that. I get questions. I see questions on social media asking when the library will reopen. I'm sure others have seen the same thing. I would really like to see a plan put together with steps, even if we don't have dates on the steps yet.
Okay.
And the questions are, when can I go in and browse to find books I want to borrow or materials I want to borrow, as well as using the computer, which are two different and sometimes contradictory things. For browsing, we might be able to limit someone to 15 or 20 minutes, but computer use, that might not be sufficient. Certainly, are we going to count the people that are coming into the building? Or just simply limit time and keep an eye on things. Those are a lot of big issues to be worked out.
Okay. But we certainly can work on, what we think would be best, at least initially, and say this might be the way we want to start.
Yeah. And Deb, if you would like us to call, a building committee meeting or anything like that together to help you with that, to be a resource to you, just say the word. However you want to do it.
Okay. Yep, I think I'll start, if it's okay with you guys, I'll start with the staff and then let them say, figure out when to pull the whole building committee piece into it. Because that's certainly a part of it. And yes, thank you for, because I don't feel like we're alone. We're all doing this together. So it's great to hear that. The part that I wanted to ask about, and maybe it fits in here, and Michelle, if it's out of order, I can bring it up again at a different time, is, as Mitch pointed out, we are getting those questions on social media and just people in the street stopping us. Lonnie gets them too, at the grocery store, because we live in town. When will you be open?
I got asked that question 3 hours ago when I was walking through a park.
So, right. So we thought as a staff, it might be nice if we had the same language to say to people, because we're always hemming and hawing, like I'm always saying, I miss you too, and I want you to come back. And that's true. But ultimately it's the Board of Health and the selectmen and the town administrator that make the final decision. But is there some, and I don't want to say pat answer, but some cohesive language that we could all use so that we're speaking the same thing when people ask us that. I just think it would be nice for the public to hear that. So,
Deb, I think you kind of said it. So it's the first thing you say is, thank you, we miss you too. And the second piece to that is what we talked about here tonight. You know, the staff and the town and the board is working diligently to meet the requirements necessary to make that happen for you.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying those are the words, but it's like everything that we said here tonight is the answer to that question.
I think those should be the exact words. You phrased it so well, Jocelyn.
Thanks.
But I mean, that's what we've been saying, that it's ultimately up to town administration to make that decision, that even you as a board can't make it. Okay.
That is correct.
Yeah, but I think we're responsible for coming up with a plan to propose.
Right.
And until we do that, town administration won't have anything to approve.
I think we also want to be careful about sounding like we're telling people to ask someone else, because if you were to say, you know, ultimately it's up to the town administrator, well, now John's office is going to receive a lot of calls and his answer is going to be, well, we're waiting for the library to give us a plan. So now we're stuck in that circular, well, who do I ask? Nobody's
Right.
giving me an answer. The answer is really, yeah, we miss you too, and we're working on it. And
Okay.
we will keep you posted. At least that's my opinion.
I think that gets us back to the idea that working with the town administration, who are working with the governor, that when things start to clarify, we have plans in place so that we can reopen in a systematic and safe way. It reassures people that we are doing the very best to reopen in a way that is the best way for everybody. And I think that's what Deb is asking for she and her staff to be able to begin doing.
Thank you very much. All that is helpful. Sometimes, you know, we're hit with it and we hem and haw, and it's good to have like some great phrases to respond to that. So thank you.
Or even like you said, just to make sure everyone's saying the same thing.
Exactly.
Regardless of what it is, if everyone's using the same similar language, at least now it sounds like a team effort.
Right. Yeah. And I said, pointed out don't make it sound as if, well, we can't do anything until the town administrator. But we are working with the Board of Health, we are working with the reopening team, we are working with town administration. We have plans in place. And again, you know, I like that Jocelyn said, we miss you too. Start with that. We miss you. We miss, you've said, Debbie, I know you've said this repeatedly. I miss the patrons. I miss seeing the public here in the library. So starting with that, we miss you. We want you in the library. I think actually puts a really nice spin on it, or think it's a comfortable opening sort of thing. But yes, you know, we're working with all of these different, you know, entities in town, and we want to make sure that we have a systematic and safe way. We are developing, or we have developed, reopening plans. We just need to make sure that we have all of the pieces in place so that, again, it is a safe environment for the public, for the staff. I think that just presents the case nicely.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Mitch, did we want any more on this? Does anybody have any more comments, questions about the reopening or anything else on the director's report? I know, Mitch, you had a question.
It's incredibly minor compared to the heavy items we were just discussing. You mentioned, Deb, in the director's report about museum passes and how we have them and most of them aren't able to be used right now. Do you have any sense as to whether we will get any refund, partial refund, or money applied to the purchase of the passes for next year, given the fact that, you know, most of this year they haven't been usable?
My guess is that that's on a case-by-case basis,
Yeah.
based on every individual library. I can follow up with Kristen on that because she handles all the museum passes. Unless Kate may know because of the billing, but all of that is done through the Friends. So I'm
Yeah.
not really sure how that works, but I can certainly ask her if.
Okay.
I'd like to
For the
toss out,
most part, they've been, I'm sorry, Michelle, for the
No.
most part, they've just been suspended and then
Yeah.
they'll be reactivated. So it's not like
Right,
we get
right.
an enforcement, but we won't be paying it.
yeah. So maybe some of them they suspend them and then they will say, okay, your membership starts now and your new expiration date will be X or Y or Z.
Mhm.
I would like to toss out the idea that a lot, these places are essentially nonprofits. And I would not want to go to them and say, hey, you have to give us back our money because you were closed and I couldn't use my museum pass. I want my money back. I would say, yes, you are a nonprofit organization, as is the library, obviously, but I would not want to ask for money back. I would say, this is what keeps you going. This is what keeps you in business, and this is the thing that makes you, will allow you to continue going forward. So many places have, even though they're closed, even like the library building, there are ongoing expenses, and some of these places have significant ongoing expenses, whether there are people there or not. So that's just me making my plea for nonprofits. Sorry.
I totally agree with you, Michelle. And to give you an example, the Worcester Art Museum and Tower Hill have had a reciprocal arrangement over the last several months, so that if you're a member of one, you can go into the other. You're not into the library, museum, because the museum is closed still until October, but you can go to Tower Hill. So I think nonprofits, we're all in the same boat, and we're all trying to do the same stuff to keep afloat.
Yeah, I just want to be careful about particularly taxpayer funds. I know a lot of the memberships are purchased by the Friends through donations, so I defer to them to decide. I think, I forget who it was earlier that said, well, one way they may deal with it is just by extending the membership, which would certainly be satisfactory. It's just one of those things that I was thinking about, that money was spent independent of whose money it was. And we legitimately can't offer it to the residents to use those services. So just wondering what was happening with that.
Well, I can certainly follow up with
Yeah.
the passes that we use, that we pay with taxpayers' funds, and find out what the status is on those.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
You're welcome.
Anything else related to the acting director's report? If not, we will move on to the update regarding the search for the new library director.
Michelle,
Yes, what?
I have another request from the staff. Does that come now or as new business?
Well, I guess I'll let it be as part of the acting director's report, just
Okay.
the verbal part of the acting director's report.
Okay, thank you. I didn't mean to stop you there, but I just, so Katrina wants to know, because she had been getting questions over the summer, when are you going to do an outdoor story time? And she had sent me an email.
An outdoor what? I'm sorry.
Outdoor story time.
Oh, okay.
So right now, all of our story times and programs for children are done over Zoom, just like Bonnie's doing all her teen programs that way. And there are some libraries, in the Commonwealth that have successfully conducted safe and socially distanced story times outside. And Katrina said, can I do one? But she wanted me to present this to the board for you to consider. her initial plan was to try to maybe do it down at the McAfee Park. Request the pavilion, et cetera, et cetera. And I just asked her if, how she was going to keep the social distance because, she said something about spray painting on the grass, and I don't spray painting, and I'm not sure where she was going to do that, if that was permissible in the park. And I mean, yes, we can have signups and we would have, the appropriate number signed up. But I mean, how would we limit just people coming by with their stroller? I don't have the answers to all of these things. I just posed them back to Katrina. Maybe we could try something like that when we still have nice weather on the library grounds. I don't know if it's just too loud with the traffic, but her question is, should she continue to investigate this to see if it's something that we could safely do an outdoor storytelling? So that's that.
Well, you have a few more weeks. I mean, it is September.
Right.
Take advantage of it while you can,
Yeah,
but,
I don't think you have to mark the ground. I think, people, adults are kind of space themselves out.
Well, this is a story time with smaller children. That's
Yeah, but
why she
with
wanted.
parents, right? With parents,
Pardon?
with parents.
Right.
Yeah.
so,
Say go for it if you can get a couple more weeks in, but it's going to be pretty cold in 3 weeks probably.
such an optimist, Richard. It's
Well,
gonna be
you know how it is.
summer for, oh yeah, we live in New England, never mind. Not the gazebo, the big thing.
Pavilion.
The pavilion, thank you. I don't know why I can never remember that word. Does the pavilion down at Ellsworth, doesn't have picnic tables under it?
It does. I don't know if they're there right now. I don't go to that park. There's too many people in it. Really, I used to go there every day. I don't anymore.
Okay, I agree though. I think you still have to go through
Through the
rec
town,
department.
right?
So I would imagine you could use the pavilion, and it's like one family per table. The tables must be separated,
Mhm.
I would think. And just, if you do something like that. And yeah, I know I've seen some places where they've spray painted on the grass, but I know that they're also using the fields down there. So I'm not sure where, if there are parts of that park that she could do that. But
Right. Obviously, she'd have to ask permission and, flesh out specifically how many people she could have. So.
Yep. So was somebody else going to say something? Any other?
I mean, I'll jump in and say that I think it's always worth investigating anything that the library can offer, especially to Richard's point, while the weather is still nice. There's clearly an appetite for people getting together safely as much as possible. Kids in particular love to see their friends. And I know it's tough. It's tough to keep adults apart, let alone kids. But I'm sure we've all seen really creative ways of borrowing cones from the DPW and set them up and say, stay in your area. There's, I know we don't use silly string, but there's other temporary markers that are very low cost that can be put out. It's a math problem. You just solve the math problem. How much area is under the pavilion divided by 36 square feet, 6 feet in every direction. And that's how many people you have. So I think Katrina should definitely keep looking into it. I'm sure other towns are doing it. Let's see what we can offer to the town.
If I can, I was at the Algonquin track this morning, and I'm running some laps, and a teacher comes out with 8 high school kids. They're all carrying the lawn chairs, and they go on the football field in a circle, and he conducted a class. I mean, they were all separated. Pretty good to me, the way they did it without any big fanfare.
It's also been surprising to me how close 6 feet actually is.
Mhm.
I
They
feel
were
it's,
more than that. There were about 10 people.
yeah.
There was only 8 of them, 8 or 9.
Mhm.
I mean, we held town meeting for, it's, if
Right.
we're able to do that, I think we can pull 6 or 10 kids together under that pavilion and have a nice story time.
Excellent. I know Katrina will be happy to hear that. So yay, thank you.
Absolutely. Do it, do it, do it. Make a note for myself. All right.
Now I'm
Uh,
done for real, Michelle. Thank you.
Well, there's always the any other business that may come before the board in case you think of something else. Update regarding the search for the new library director. I don't know if we said specifically which 2 library staff members would be part of the committee. As you know, Mitch and I are on the interview committee. The president of the Friends is on. A citizen from town is on. It's Katrina, Ireland, and Donna Cathell are the 2 library staff members. And John Kader. Did I get everybody? If I missed anyone, I apologize. We have gone through, we got, I believe, 28 resumes in the end. We have had a meeting. We went through, we discussed the candidates that we wanted to move forward for an interview. We have some interviews that are scheduled for tomorrow, September 9th, and then some on September 10th. And based on, how those things go, we may be ready to move forward 2 or 3 names for further consideration, bring people in for a second interview. If we aren't comfortable, the process is that we will, go back and look at the resumes that we have and decide if we want to, do further interviews. I think that pretty well sums it up. Mitch, would you agree?
Yes, I absolutely agree. We can't say anything about the candidates yet because it's in the preliminary screening phase which is an executive session. But I think we certainly have some candidates that, at least on paper, are very worthwhile to meet with, and we'll be meeting with them. And then, as Michelle said, the goal is to find 2 or 3 that we like enough to bring forward to the trustees, and that would be then public interviews by the Board of Trustees to choose a new director. But if we are not satisfied, or if the full board is not satisfied, then we start over again.
But you'll be satisfied.
I certainly hope so. Not that I'm unsatisfied with our acting director by any means.
Your acting director is just acting. I
Yes.
only play it on TV. It's
Maybe-
not a long-term thing for me.
Maybe you'll get an Emmy or an Oscar or something for
I
your
would love an
acting.
Emmy.
You loved it? All right.
Yep.
Make a note. Emmy for Deb. I really am writing that.
And I really am happy to do this until we could get somebody, permanently.
Yeah.
to do
We're all happy that you're able to do it, Willie.
Were you all impressed that it only took 2 emails this time to get all the information out to you? And of course, the second email that went out, that had to go out, was my mistake. I messed up. So last month, July, what was it, like 6 or 7 emails it took before I got everything out. So anyway, thank you, Deb. You've already improved on my record significantly. So unless anyone has questions about the director search, I am going to say that the next meeting will be October 13th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Unless something happens, some emergency comes up that we feel that we need to get together earlier. And I think I'm being overly optimistic and saying, well, if we have to get together to interview a potential candidate, but hey,
I think it's conceivable.
It's conceivable. Stranger things have happened in my life. And as for any other business, I'm really glad I put that on the agenda. I'm just going to state, and because Deborah, you mentioned something that made me want to, we'll probably officially put it on the next agenda, but the subcommittees, the library subcommittees that we have, the building committee being one of them, I think because of everything that's going on, I'm going to keep the subcommittees intact. So the subcommittee assignments that we had for this past year will continue to be the subcommittee assignments for the coming year. There will be no change. Jim, for the minutes, I will email you the list, but for the administrative committee, it's Jocelyn, Nita, and Hamilton. Long range planning, Jim, Richard Tucker, and I are on that one. And building and grounds, Mitch, Joan, and Charles. So, of course, if you were to need any meetings, they would have to be online with an official agenda posted. As it stands right now, though, I think that most of these things, other than the need for something from building and grounds, I think that probably admin and long-range planning should be paused until we have a director, unless, like long-range planning, if the acting library director needs some help because we need to get a long-range plan into the MBLC ahead of time. So did I get a little hiccup there, or are we okay? All right, so again, I will email the list to you, Jim, so that you have all the names officially to make it easier to put it into the minutes. Did I say Mitch? Did I say Jim? I hope I said the right name. All right, is there any other business that may come before the board tonight? Seeing none, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second the motion.
All right. All right, and again, it's a roll call vote. So when I call your name, please say aye. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting. Mitch Cohen.
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Jim Hogan.
Jim Hogan, aye.
Let's see if I can say it right. Jocelyn McHeleny.
Jocelyn McKellany, aye.
Thank you. Charles Recchia.
Charles Recchia, aye.
Joan Scott.
Joan Scott, aye.
Richard Tucker.
Richard Tucker, aye.
And Michelle Rehill, aye. The meeting is officially adjourned at 7:55 p.m. Thank you, one and all. So, host Mr. Kane, if you are there, you may end the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure seeing everyone as always.
Yes, it has been.
Stay well, everyone.
Thank you,
Deb?
everyone.
Deb, can you stay on for a second?
Thank you.
I can, yes.
All right, we're out. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I was gonna let, there we go. I was gonna let David finish recording because it's really just, this is an individual question about curbside pickup. It had nothing to do with the meeting.
Give
Oh, so
me
you're
just
asking as a
moment.
patron?
As I'm asking as a patron, yes.
Jocelyn and Deb, give me just a minute, please. I want to end the stream.
Thanks, David.